occasion, and today we're going to play another campaign lore play. So as you can see, back on the campaign map, and we're fighting Heinrich Kemmler. So, yeah, I won't tell you who wins. Yeah, I'm sure you can guess. I mean, look at that. But anyway, so I think we'll talk about Heinrich Kemmler first, because we haven't spoken about him yet, and, you know, he's right here. So that's a pretty good idea. But then I also want to talk about more about the lands of Sylvania in general, and talk a bit more about Manfred von Carstein. Because, yeah, he's got a whole, you know, sort of aftermath, because, you know, vampires don't stay dead for very long. So, you know, he's got a whole load more stuff, and it's all very cloak and dagger. You know, he's a lot more subtle of vampire, especially compared to, like, you know, Conrad von Carstein, who's just a crazy brute. You know, Vlad was always quite, you know, political, but, yeah, maybe not quite as cunning as Manfred, but certainly a better warrior. So, you know, it's good to talk about him some more, because, yeah, it's kind of vital. So, yeah, I know I did want to talk about the other sorts of vampires, but I think we'll do that in the next episode, because I'll probably be hanging around Sylvania for quite a long time. Because there's a lot to, you know, there's a lot to do in Sylvania, because I've got to keep all my armies there, while vampire, you know, the corruption levels are so high. Bloody vampires. Oh well. Sylvania's a mess. So, yeah, so we're going to talk about that. So, first, Heinrich Kemmler, the Lich Master. So, Heinrich Kemmler burns with the need for power. Having recognised the limits that mortality placed upon him in his early years, Kemmler made it his life's work to escape them. He plunged into the world of necromancy as a young man, and by the time he had reached his 40th year, he was able to raise entire graveyards of corpses to do his bidding. Kemmler became a great and much feared necromancer, plundering every wizard's tower and ancient temple he could find in a search for dark truths. His star was in the ascendant for many decades until ambitious rivals began to usurp his power. United, those who Kemmler had defeated proved stronger than even the self-styled Lichmaster. At the Battle of the 10,000 Skulls, Kemmler's foes succeeded in driving him to his knees. Although he finally managed to scatter his attackers with a great spell of confusion, his body was broken and his mind blasted in the battle. For many years, Heinrich wandered the Grey Mountains and the Border Princes, as little better than a half-sane beggar. By some quirk of fate, he uncovered the tomb of Krell, a long-dead Chaos champion whose burial mound was so magnificent it towered high above him. Here, Kemmler struck a terrible pact with the gods. They restored him to his former power, and in return, Heinrich swore to slay and destroy in their name. Now, the name of the Lichmaster once again strikes terror into the hearts of ordinary folk. Beneath Kemmler's robes, his body is covered with scars, cuts and abrasions from his years of madness. He is shrouded in a large dark cloak that can carry its wearer across the veil between worlds. When going into battle, he wields the Chaos Tomb Blade and the Skull Staff, a potent magical artifact that chatters and gibbers constantly. Though he does not know it, Kemmler's wanderings in the mountains were subtly guided by the spirit of Nagash, part of an evil plan that would free Krell and unite him with the forces of the undead. Nagash's plans have suffered a minor setback following the heavy casualties that the Lichmaster's army suffered at the Battle of Maisontal Abbey, but in time they are sure to bear rich and terrible fruit. So yeah, that's Heinrich Kemmler. So, yeah, I mean, you know, I kind of like it. He was running around, you know, sort of a beggar for a while, but generally he's just, you know, a very good necromancer. That's kind of his thing. But then there aren't a lot of those knocking about, really. You know, it's really the vampires that sort of, you know, the kings of sort of the undead, and Heinrich is probably the only mortal who's come close. So that makes him, you know, pretty novel there. And the fact that Nagash is trying to actually, you know, sort of guide his fate shows that he's a guy of great importance, because Nagash isn't going to waste his time on any old necromancer. So that's pretty cool. But also, I mentioned Krell, and so Krell is an interesting one to talk about as well. You know, his, you know, Heinrich Kemmler's bro. So, you know, in that sort of jock kind of sense, not actually brothers, because that'd be weird. But anyway, so Krell. So I'm going to talk about him as well, because why not, right? So Krell was a mighty Chaos champion in the days before the birth of Sigmar, the ruler of a barbarian tribe that had been corrupted by the Chaos god Khorne. Krell carved out an empire amongst the barbarian tribes to the north, and then turned against the dwarves to the south. He allied with the night goblins that stormed the dwarf strongholds of Karak and Karak Van, and his name is recorded many times in the Great Book of Grudges, though he was eventually slain by the dwarf hero Grimble Ironhelm during the assault on Karak Kadrin. Karak Kadrin actually being really close to Sylvania, and we'll see it later. But that's obviously where all the Slayers tend to gather, you know, under the Slayer King. So cool place. The party managed to sack it. Pretty good. Obviously, it wasn't a place of. I'm not sure if that actually, you know, held the mantle of sort of, you know, the Slayer King and all the Slayer. I'm not sure if that existed back then. or if that was a more recent thing. I'd have to find it out, because, yeah, with so many histories and so many people living so many hundreds of years, it's quite difficult to see how it all lines up. Sometimes, you know, you can know individual stories of an empire or a faction, but not necessarily know where that fits in with others, unless they're, of course, fighting one another. I don't think that one's recorded in the dwarf books. But well, let's move on. So, Krell's followers carried away his body and buried it in a barrow tomb. Nearly 1500 years later, Nagash came upon the tomb when he was searching for the crown of sorcery, which Azag the Sorcerer ended up wearing, which is amusing. Easily translating the runic inscriptions on the tomb walls, Nagash realised that this barrow held the remains of a mighty champion. Nagash was much pleased, and instantly set about raising the prized hero to fight in his armies. Krell was placed in command of one of Nagash's undead legions when he fought against Sigmar at the Battle of River Reich. Okay, so I actually mentioned in that Sigmar bit in episode 11.7, you know, the previous episode, that I thought they'd retconned the Nagash-Sigmar fight, but apparently not. They just don't mention it in the Empire books, which I think is because people of the Empire don't really know that that happened necessarily. Because, you know, they don't live as long, so these myths tend to, you know, these sort of famous battles tend to turn into myth and then forgotten occasionally. So that's kind of novel. So, so we're about to fight the battle for the Silver Seal, so I don't want to interrupt the speech. So in a second, you know, Franz will be doing that, and we'll carry on the story afterwards. So any minute now. There we go.
We hunt this day, yet our quarry is neither boar nor deer, no! We pursue the undead! The witch hunters bring word that a vampire crone makes haste for Stirland with the Silver Seal in her clutches. I charge you, brave men, with not letting that vampiress get to Sylvania. For we know she is a puppet. Her strings are pulled by that cursed wretch, von Karstein. Now, men, chase her down. Return to me what is mine, and send these von Karstein beasts a message. By taking her head, we have brought her to bay at the center of a forsaken temple, siphoning off ill magics to power her dread spells. Have no doubt. Surround the crone, slay the creature before she can summon her minions. By order of the Grand Theogenist, show no mercy!
So quickly to say, the reason why I did this battle now is because we're, you know, full out just fighting the undead at the moment, and I just wanted it to sort of feel like, you know, we'd taken Sylvania, and this was sort of Manfred's last attempt to sort of one-up us by, you know, getting hold of the Silver Seal. So, you know, he might finally be able to actually defeat us and regain his lands. Obviously that's not canon with any story in, you know, in Warhammer, but, you know, for my own sort of role-playing within, you know, Total War, I think that's a fun way to do it. So that's kind of what I'm going for here. So I thought it was a fun time to do it, and of course we want to do the quest battles eventually. So yeah, so be it. So yeah, anyway, I'll carry on with the story we're in the middle of. So yeah, so the Battle of the River Reich. Leading from the front, Krell's forces attacked the Empire's dwarf allies. The battle raged furiously, the dwarves stubbornly refusing to give ground against the endless ranks of undead troops, just as it seemed the dwarf line would crumble. Sigmar cut down Nagash. In moments, the undead army was all but destroyed as units withered and turned to dust. Only Krell and his graveguard survived Nagash's defeat. At the head of his troops, he was able to battle his way through the dwarf lines and escape. Sigmar's forces were exhausted and did not pursue Krell immediately. This proved a costly mistake. Marching night and day, Krell led what remained of his forces on a dance of destruction that cut a bloody swathe across the lands. Entire communities were destroyed, towns sacked, and castles burnt to the ground. To this day, stories of Krell and his doomed legion are told across the Empire. Krell was finally cornered by Sigmar and defeated at the Battle of Glacier Lake, and his body was imprisoned in a magically constructed tomb. Centuries later, Heinrich Kemmler, the Lichmaster, came upon the tomb of Krell and freed the Ancient White. Kemmler believes Krell to be in his thrall, but the servants of Nagash are not so easily enslaved. So that's pretty cool. So, you know, brothers in arms, but Krell's actually doing this all for Nagash, because, you know, that's kind of what happens, really. Most plans for the undead, it's usually Nagash is at the helm, no matter what it looks like. Most people think they're in charge, but they're not, which is kind of scary, really, when you think about it. So they're all servants of someone. So pretty messed up. So, so that was Krell, you know, ancient chaos warrior turned undead, crazy. But you can see that he did have that sort of chaos influence of Khorne anyway, even in Undeath. The fact that he was just like, right, okay, let's go rape and pillage, let's destroy everything we see. You know, pretty cool that that sort of lingered in him. So, so that's good fun. Even in Undeath, you know, he still had his crazy wits about him. So let's once again talk about the lands of Sylvania, because yeah, there's still more to go over. So, okay, from the Spider Haunts to the Bane of Troth, Corpse Run to the Necromance, Sylvania is a realm steeped in dark legend. Under the shadow of the vampires, its populace has become a terrified, superstitious people, close to uninhabitable. Sylvania's forests are a dingy copse of twisted, half-rotten trees that claw what nourishment they can from the bone-strewn soil. Desolate moorlands and sluggish rivers of clotted blood punctuate the yellow-leafed woods, windswept and storm-shrouded by dark clouds that seep down from the World's Edge Mountains on an almost daily basis. It is a depressing, dismal realm settled in a time of Sigmar by dissident, evil men dispossessed by the God King's unification of the peoples of the Empire. When warpstone shards fell upon the lands in 1111, Sylvania's fell reputation was sealed, as the dead erupted from their graves and laid siege to the villages and towns. Ever since, it has been a loathed and feared province, avoided by the other people of the Empire, common folk and lawmakers alike. Sparsely populated, Sylvania has long proved a refuge for men intent on dark deeds and secretive studies, as well as evil creatures hunted by the forces of the Emperor. Long before Vlad von Carstein unleashed his undead armies upon the Empire, Sylvania had been home to crypt ghouls, necromancers and chaos worshippers. Sylvania is nominally part of Stirland now, though Vlad's bloody legacy holds Sylvania in its infernal grip. The Dread Realm is still home to brooding malice and evil powers. In crumbling castles, towering mausoleums and forgotten keeps dwell the vampire progeny of Vlad von Carstein. Though they are wary now of the Empire, united as it is under the rule of Emperor Karl Franz, the surviving von Carstein still plot and scheme, dreaming of immortal power. They muster their forces in secret, building armies of the dead from bodies and bones, waiting for any sign of weakness in the Empire. So, this nice little, you know, excerpt, this next paragraph is titled "In the Shadow of Death," so you know it's going to be cheery. The scattered villages and hamlets of Sylvania are even more isolated and parochial than other settlements of the Empire. Grubbing what existence they can from the infertile land, the peasantry live in small communities of interrelated families and never venture far from their crude hovels. There are few stone roads here. Rutted, half-flooded tracks and paths link most villages, all but impossible to navigate except in the relatively dry summer months. At times, the mud itself seems to be a living thing, clawing at the edges of the weak and dragging them to a suffocating death. The populace are for the most part concerned with day-to-day survival, raising famished, skinny goats and pigs, tending to what scraps of farmland they have in the hope of gathering enough crops to survive the long and cruel winter. Sylvanian villages are in a constant state of disrepair, for good stone and wood is hard to come by. All, however, have barred or boarded windows and heavy doors to keep out the night's predators. Crude fetishes and charms of a dozen gods hang on every lintel and frame. The villagers daub symbols of protection on their doors with pig's blood to guard against the unnatural horrors of this frightful land. Hanging outside the gates of the most desperate townships can be found criminals and travellers caged in iron maidens, their only companions the crows and vampire bats that feed on them. Ever since Vlad closed the holy shrines, they have fallen into decrepitude, for no priest ventures into Sylvania without a sturdy guard of armed men. Truly, Sylvania is a godless realm, for darkness claimed it many centuries ago. So, yeah, it's good we're trying to hang on to it, isn't it? Ugh. But, you know, it's fine. It's a doer-upper. So, you know, it'll be nice once we're done. I think. Hopefully. You know, I'm building shrines, though. That's the main thing. I'm building a load of shrines again. So, bringing the gods back. So anyway, the next bit actually talks about Drakenhof Castle, which is, of course, the sort of the provincial capital in Total War, but it's not actually the capital of Sylvania. The capital of Sylvania is Waldenhof, but Drakenhof Castle is where the von Carsteins rule from. So, you know, it's the de facto capital, really. So, Drakenhof Castle is the accursed citadel where Vlad von Carstein began his reign of terror, and from which battlements he summoned his undead army. It was home to generations of von Drax before Vlad came, and some say it is the home of Manfred von Carstein to this day. Adventurers still seek the towering castle out because of the treasure trove of occult lore rumoured to be contained in its library. It is said that copies of all the great sorcerer's works can be found there, shackled tight on shelves made from wood that bleeds scarlet in the candlelight, but no one who has sought them has ever returned. The castle itself is huge, built on top of a massive cliff from where it dominates the surrounding forest. It has 4 mighty towers and a gigantic central keep, beneath which are a huge number of crypts, dungeons, and abandoned torture chambers. Secret passages run all the way through the cliff and are said to come out in the woods. The notorious poet-adventurer Felix Jaeger, purportedly the last living visitor to Drakenhof, reports that the castle seems abandoned, though thin screams emanate from its spires every night. The curtains and tapestries have rotted away, and the furniture is cracked and dusty. In the dining hall, the obsidian goblets from which Manfred and his lackeys used to drink blood still stand undisturbed on the banqueting table. The walls of the Great Hall are hung all along with portraits of the vampire counts, tall, gaunt, red-eyed men who have each carved a bloody furrow into history. In recent years, it seems that some undead evil has returned to the castle. Peasants in nearby villages claim their young people are mysteriously vanishing. Huge red-eyed wolves prowl the forest and keep trespassers at bay. By night, sinister coaches make their way to the castle on clandestine business, and the dead once more stir uneasily in their tombs. So, it doesn't sound great, does it? Honestly. Next on our tour of Sylvania is Fort Oberstyre. So, keep your arms and legs inside the vehicle, please. When Vlad von Carstein was defeated at the Siege of Altdorf, the Count of Stirland ordered a castle be built overlooking the westward road from Sylvania. Fort Oberstyre took 23 years to build, but in its day was the epitome of imperial construction and military technology. Its angled walls were proof against rocks and cannonballs. Speaking of cannonballs, do you notice Nuln just had a bit of an event there? Their gunpowder exploded, so I've just had to repair everything, which is very, very good for Nuln. It is, there's going to be a lot of gunpowder there. That's where all the gunnery schools and things are, as we mentioned in previous ones. So I like that event is sort of tied to Nuln in that way. It's pretty cool. So anyway, back to this. So where were we? Its angled walls were proof against rocks and cannonballs, and its stake-lined moat was thought to be impenetrable. It could hold a garrison for 3,000 men and was protected by 4 cannon batteries that left no approach unguarded. Yet the ongoing political and military battles for control of the Empire sapped Stirland's coffers, and in 2088 the garrison was reduced to just 700 men. 3 of the batteries were removed for the use in the siege of Glustbad. Not sure where that is, actually. And many of the battlements began to fall into disrepair. When Conrad attacked in 2094, Fort Oberstyre held out for less than 2 hours. Conrad leapt the moat and scaled the wall of the gate tower before lowering the drawbridge to allow his vampire knight allies and skeletal men-at-arms to butcher all inside. After Conrad was finally dispatched to the Battle of Grim Moor, Fort Oberstyre was renovated and heavily rebuilt, and the Count of Stirland maintained a full-strength garrison despite the drain on his treasury. In mockery of these efforts, Manfred von Carstein swept away the defenders in a single night. As the sun set on Fort Oberstyre, Manfred used his necromantic enchantments to rouse the spirits of those slain by Conrad and set them upon the soldiers within. The wailing spectres and ghosts killed men with their chilling touch, and the garrison, driven mad with fear, surrendered or fled before dawn's rays touched the castle walls. Ever since, there have been several attempts to reclaim Fort Oberstyre, but even the most dedicated priest of Moor have failed to exorcise his wild spirits. Whole garrisons stationed at Fort Oberstyre have committed suicide rather than spend another night in its haunted chambers. It remains an evil blight upon travellers using the Western Road, luring them to their doom on storm-racked nights. So, bit of a pity. That would have been a great fort for, Stirland to hold. But, like much of Sylvania, there's just been so much bloodshed that it just makes a great place for raising the dead and spirits, and the whole land is so tainted by dark magic that, these spirits do just cling on to life. So, it's not a good place. Even with a fully decked out castle, it doesn't really stand a chance because the castle itself is haunted. Because the land is so cursed. So it's pretty grim. Yeah, you don't want to be guarding anywhere in Sylvania. It's just a terrible idea. Just stick to your homes and lots of pig's blood. Yeah, that's how it's done. So, as you can see, we're at Karak Kadrin, and unfortunately it's not using the cool custom map. I thought that was part of the map pack. That's a pity. So we went at that called Bridge Attack, that Bridge Assault. You might have seen before if you keep up to date with mods and things. So that's not there. But we are going to talk a bit about Karak Kadrin because it's an important place. Home of the Slayer King. So I do want to just stop talking about Sylvania for a second so I can cover that. So one thing that's a bit annoying actually is I've only got the one dwarf army book, which is very silly because dwarves are one of the armies that I actually collected more thoroughly than others. Yeah, I think this one is 5th edition, but it doesn't actually have a lot about Karak Kadrin, so it will be brief. But what's cool is the little tale, because a lot of the stuff in here is actually journal entries from Jacob Stackledorf, which is from the Empire. So it's a human. So that's interesting. So it gives a nice perspective. So I'm gonna start with his diary entry of travels through the World's Edge Mountains. So day 29. I have begun my trek up Karaz's White Cap. I find myself having to regularly stop for breath. The air as we ascend the mountain grows thin, and I cannot walk for more than an hour before I must stop. My dwarf guide is most patient with me, although I have little doubt that such is the vigour and stamina of these stout fellows, that he could easily have reached the top by now without any need for rest. We have made camp for the evening at the beautiful site that overlooks the great lake of Blackwater. In the distance I can just make out the ruins of Cragmere. From this high vantage point, had I not known of the beasts and monsters that now inhabit the former stronghold, I would have thought it no different from any other of the great holds. Day 30. My sleep was disturbed by the bellows of the stone trolls that stalk the mountainsides. Many was the time I woke believing the strong winds that buffeted my tent in the night to be my impending doom at the claws of one of these monstrous creatures. By noon we had reached the top of the mountain. My legs gave way to the sight before me. A bridge arcs high between the peaks of Karaz's White Cap and Karak Fanghorn. I cannot even hazard a guess as to how the dwarfs built such a structure, or why. I can now understand why the dwarfs call this bridge Ekrant Grom, or the Stair of Courage. My guide has informed me that we shall not be making the crossing today, as the winds are too strong. I thank Sigmar for his mercy, but know that this is a brief respite before I must search my heart to summon the courage to cross. Day 31. A party of troll slayers have arrived at the summit. Usually loners, they have gathered together to perform a rite of passage for one of their number. For some unknown reason, Troll's guts acquired from a recent victorious battle were tied to his ankles. What happened next was but beyond my comprehension. He walked to the centre of the bridge carrying a large boulder, to which was tied the other end of the length of Troll gut. Placing the boulder, he then jumped off the bridge to what I thought was his doom. Amazingly, the Troll guts are so tough, they took his weight, and he was catapulted back up towards the bridge. After retrieving their comrade, the small party offered me the chance to undertake this ritual, but I value my life more than these strange cast of dwarfs and politely declined. Day 32. Today I finally summoned up the courage to cross the sky bridge. My guide informed me that I was the first man to do since Sigmar himself. I must admit, though, it was not easy to do. The bridge is wide enough to accommodate several dwarfs abreast at its start, but by the time I had traversed its path to the centre, it becomes barely a few feet wide. I was very glad to reach the other side and start my descent to the stronghold of Karak Kadrin, where I intend to visit the famed Slayer Shrine. After finally meeting some of this legendary cast, albeit in such strange circumstances, I will regard these doomed dwarfs with a new respect. So that that just sort of sums up the entrance to Karak Kadrin and points out that that's the home of the famous Slayer Shrine. But yeah, so they have this incredibly thin bridge that you need to cross in order to get into the place, which I think is very cool. The custom map that someone made, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but someone made a great map for it, where it isn't actually a few feet wide, but it's a small bridge crossing. It's a very cool siege map. I don't know why it's not here. I think it could be because we're fighting against, we're not fighting against the dwarves, we're fighting against the undead. So yeah, I think that could be it, which is a pity, because it's very cool. But yeah, so I think that's quite fun. So bungee jumping with troll guts. So Slayers are an odd bunch. But yeah, so that's the only real excerpt I have about Karak Kadrin in a book. So that's a bit of a pity. However, there is an entire paragraph on Ungrim Ironfist, the Slayer King of Karak Kadrin. The meaning of the unfortunate Ungrim's name, Oathbound, tells his story well, for he is bound by two oaths that he cannot reconcile. The first is his loyalty to the people he rules. The second is his inherited Slayer oath to seek a noble death, something he cannot honourably do whilst his people still need him. And that's literally all there is about it, which is a bit ridiculous. But yeah, but like I say, this is actually supposed to be about Sylvania, this one. So, although we're taking out Karak Kadrin here, yeah, this is still going to be, Sylvania based. So let's go back to Sylvania. So next on our tour is Hunger Wood. Of all the miserable forests of Sylvania, Hunger Wood is the most despised by the Sylvanian folk. It is a spirit-infested maze of briars and bogs, in which the unwary are easily trapped. Travellers that venture beneath the contorted boughs do not return. Instead, they are doomed to wander until they are lost and crazed with hunger and thirst, forced to fall upon each other to feed and drink, devouring human flesh and drinking blood to survive. For centuries, several tribes of crypt ghouls have claimed it as their territory. On the southern border of Hunger Wood stands Castle Tempelhof, once home to Countess Emanuel, a cousin of Conrad von Carstein. Emanuel fought against the dwarfs during the infamous Night Siege. Dark spells swathed her fortress and its surrounds in a ever-present gloom, and for several months the dwarves fought in darkness, preyed upon by the minions of the Countess. Eventually the castle was stormed and Emanuel slain, and the dwarves laid runic markers upon the dreadful site to repel dark magic. Over recent decades, some of these wards have somehow been removed, and foul things once more stir in the southern boundaries of Hunger Wood, guided by some evil intelligence. So here, I was trying to work out what to do, and I immediately thought, you know what, I'm sacking this. Because I don't really want to take Karak Kadrin as my own. I'm kind of hoping some dwarves move in. But they might not. But I figure, you know, it's not something we keep as the Empire. But we would want to destroy, you know, all the sort of tainted parts of it. Which would be the whole thing if the vampires moved in there. So I think it makes sense for Voltmar just to, you know, destroy the place. Which, to be honest, might have been what I should have done with Sylvania, because that's sort of known as a blighted land. But I like the idea of actually trying to fix it and bring the gods back there. So but I'm not going to do that with some dwarf hold, because that's, you know, that's the dwarves. You know, it's the dwarves that are going to do that. So I'll leave them to it. So next is Hel Fenn, which is actually nearby, near Waldenhof. I think it's near Eschen. So yeah, second in infamy only to Castle Drakenhof, Hel Fenn is the centre of zombie activity in Sylvania. In ages past, the tribes of men who scratched living in these lands used to bury their dead in this swampland in the east of Sylvania. When the great warpstone showers came, Hel Fenn boiled, churned and fumed, and spewed forth a multitude of dead from centuries past. Rotted corpses draped in mud and weeds erupted from the thrashing mire and engulfed entire villages. It was Hel Fenn that Manfred finally retreated when his campaign against the Empire faltered and failed. In the middle of this blighted marshland, he turned at bay to confront his pursuers. Even as the Empire army trudged through the mire, grasping hands from the chill waters, dragged soldiers to their doom, while at night sentries were lured to their death by flickering ghost lights. Fully a quarter of the Empire's army died in Hel Fenn before they even saw battle. Nearly as many deserted on the hideous march in pursuit of the vampire count as former Conrad returned in the darkness to attack the camps. Even after Manfred's defeat, the marshes took a heavy toll. Trapped in the dark magic unleashed in the battle, these poor souls still wander the marshes as stumbling zombies. These foul creatures remain to be harvested like rotten fruit, and so Hel Fenn remains a haunt of vampires and necromancers seeking to control the undead hordes of the swamps. So, pretty grim. So, next is Corpse Run. So, a stretch of the Ava Reach River. The Corpse Run forms a nauseating barrier between the south of Sylvania and Averland. Upstream is the World's Edge Mountains. Melting snow and spring floods often wash through burial grounds, both new and ancient. By quirk of the flow of the Ava Reach, these bones and body parts are quite often deposited around a small island southwest of Ghoul Wood. The bottom of this unwholesome stream is littered with bones, polished smooth, along with rotting limbs and disfigured heads. Tainted with warpstone dust, the Corpse Run is home to many mutated fish, which feed upon the corrupted corpses to grow into monstrous carnivorous terrors. Driven into a frenzy by the smell of flesh, these creatures have been known to leap from the water and attack people. Even the most foolhardy fisherman steers clear of Corpse Run. The warpstone also infects the bodies of the dead, and on occasion they rise from their watery graves to attack nearby villages. Zombies hung with dirty grey weeds and gnawed by fish drag themselves up the riverbank to waylay travellers. Skeletons covered in algae and encrusted with filth lurch mindlessly along the river road. During Conrad von Carstein's attacks upon Averland, the vampire's thrall, necromancers commanded the undead creatures of Corpse Run. They directed the river dead into towns and villages to spread chaos, terror and disease, paving the way for Conrad's relentless advances. So okay, we didn't have time to talk about Manfred, because we're about to approach half an hour. So we'll talk about the rest of his history in the next episode, and hopefully that'll round off the vampire counts, as they are in Total War Warhammer. Though I will want to find some time to talk more about the other sorts of vampires, because I did promise that to you guys. But Yeah, I don't really have enough time to go into all of it. I want to keep it relevant to Total War as best I can. So that's what I'm going to try and do. So, guys, if you enjoyed this, please do comment, like, and subscribe. Obviously, if you comment, let me know which bits of the series you most enjoy. Then I can do my best to sort of tailor it to those tastes. So so input will be useful. So yeah, it'd be much appreciated. And obviously, give it a like if you liked it. And yeah, if you haven't already subscribe if you want to see more. So guys, it's been good. So I guess I'll see you in the next video. Have a good day, guys.